Hi there, how's it going today? So these trucks are so much fun to build, and the last video, the last one I did, or was it the one before, didn't come out that good because I went out super early in the morning, dawn, and it was a little bit too dark. Had to get back to work, so I came in this fine Saturday to try and take a little bit more time and tell you the story of these trucks in more detail, because I really like them, and there's a lot of history and backstory to how we build them and why, and I thought you'd appreciate it. So let's take this one out for a ride and talk about it a little bit. So the model is called the Icon Thriftmaster, which I get a fair amount of shit for because they're certainly not thrifty, but that was the original name for this model back when Chevrolet introduced them. We also call it the TR, so there's a little bit more synergy with the BR and the FJ and our other production models, but Thriftmaster is the right proper name. Let's see, what can I tell you? So basically we take 1947 to 53 Chevy 3100 Thriftmaster 5-window pickups. I try and find trucks that are still original paint and have really good body integrities. Really nothing else matters, it's all about the body. And then we have our way. So when I was a younger guy, I restored several of these, probably, I don't know, 8 of them. And at the end of the day, every single time, I love the look of them, but I'd finish them and I'd drive it, and I was over it, like within a couple miles. The reality is the original drawers, they just drive like crap. They were farm trucks, so kind of the expectations that I have, and I think my kinds of customers are going to have, you know, in a modern context, is truck needs to go, and it needs to go quickly, and it needs to stop just as quickly, and the steering needs to be refined, and the ride needs to be precise and comfortable. So a couple years ago, our good friends that do the majority, almost all of our custom chassis, the guys up at Morrison Enterprise, Craig Morrison, who's the GM there, Art's son, he loves these trucks too. So he bought one, and he went ahead and engineered a modern chassis for it, for his own truck. When he was down in LA, I had the opportunity to drive the truck a fair bit, and it rapidly rekindled my interest in this model, because suddenly gone were all the limitations that I had experienced with the vintage model, and suddenly, like, game on, we could do all sorts of cool stuff. So the first couple of trucks, I even used predominantly reproduction new bodies, but I really wasn't happy with the quality of those bodies, so I've gone back to using originals, and then I'll use the licensed aftermarket sheet metal as needed. But basically what I try and do, and what's really a big fun part of my job at Icon, if you can call it a job, is that we're dealing with so many different vehicles from so many different eras that the design work is a blast, even if just because on one vehicle it would be, okay, we have to think 1930s, or we have to think 1970s, you know, or whatever it is. I'm a personal fan of Art Deco, Art Nouveau, Streamline Moderne, that kind of era, up into the late 30s, even early 40s. And I'm a huge fan of Raymond Loewy's, who's really the guy who coined the term industrial designer, and quite the rock star. So when we started out on this project, I decided to put myself in the sort of theoretical shoes of Raymond Loewy. So like, if Loewy had been on the design team when it came to all the smaller details on the vehicle, what would he have done, you know? Because again, you know, reality of modern car manufacture, obviously way more nowadays, but even back then, you know, they had to cut corners. They had to settle for good enough here and there. And like Raymond Loewy's autobiography, never leave good enough alone. So started by making a shit list of all the things that I saw opportunities in. A lot of material choices that could be upgraded. So we redesigned the door panels We redesigned the armrests, the handles, the window regulators, all the dash pieces, steering wheel, shifter, tilt knobs, turn signal indicator, all the in-dash knobs for lights, wiper, fan, vent, and temperature. And probably my favorite element was this dash, because the original trucks had this like stamped stainless situation that was an ashtray and a speaker for the AM radio, and that was all it had to do. But I wanted to integrate the modern Pioneer 8100 NEX head units with Apple CarPlay, and obviously air conditioning and a host of other things had to be integrated. So I took inspiration from that original design, and then I lengthened it and continued it over to the left of the gauges. So now you have still this era appropriate design, but then the audio compartment closes behind this lid, so it keeps it nice and sanitary until you need it. And then you just tap and drop, and then those dash panels drop down. And that was a feat of engineering, to put it mildly. A really talented guy on our team knocked that out, much smarter than me. A cool thing is we use gas shocks from RC cars to control that last bit of rotation, and it's just kind of cool, nice and subtle. So by doing that, I lost all of the area where we would traditionally put knobs and switches. So we designed this under dash piece that simply follows the ribbed lines of the bottom of the dash anyway, and then that creates a location for all the knobs. And then for all those knobs, we designed new knobs, and those are CNC'd and nickel plated and brushed, and then black enamel filled. The gauges we did in partnership with our good buddies over at Dakota Digital. So they already had a kit designed for this truck, but then they let me design the aesthetic of it. So I stuck to their basic interface, but then the indicators and the hash marks and the font and the numbers and all that fun stuff and the coloration I got to play around with, which was good fun. They're really cool gauge setup. You know, they have all your traditional readouts, and then there's two digital screens where you get things simple as, you know, odometer and trip meter, all the way through to quarter mile timing, 0 to 60, check engine light, warns you, hey idiot, you left your parking brake on, or whatever you need, and still keeps it kind of nice and vintage. The steering column was done with our buddies at I Did It, so it's a pretty straightforward GM architecture based tilt column. And then what you don't see is that in the engine bay it has a breakaway intermediary shaft for safety, which is really nice. The pedals are the Icon Sport pedals, same design language that we use in the other models, with minor revisions to fit this particular pattern. Parking brakes, kind of nifty. I got lucky there though. That was an off-the-shelf part. That worked out nice. We did power windows. We left them looking analog. We did that using new Relic components. So you just bump it down and you bump it up, but it looks like a manual one instead of some ugly modern switch, which kind of sucks. For the seat, we redesigned that. We worked with the guys at Glide Engineering, and then we recut the foam, changed the foam properties and quality, and then we CNC'd and designed our own covers for the hinge point and paddles for the recline lever. The seats are covered in Parabellum Collection's lovely Bison, which is American made, grown, whatever you call a bison, but it's American. And in the truck this time we did the brown, same with the Alcantara headliner and the carpet to match the paint and the wood. So it has a really nice kind of monochromatic velvety brown situation going on, which I really like. Seats, center console, it's really just an armrest actually, and then it articulates up if you need to cram in 3 people. And then we added this little storage pocket in the front of it where you can put your phone, and then you can connect the phone to get your CarPlay function There's a USB dock under the dash, and then there's another one cleverly routed through the seat. The seat bottom has gas shocks, so you articulate that up. There's a little bit of storage in there, but really that's where we hid the engine computer, the tranny computer, and all the various electronics bits, audio amplifiers, processors. So it keeps the firewall nice and clean, but it's easy to service. You don't have to yank the seat when you actually need to get in there. The wiper system on the truck, we use a slightly more contemporary, better functioning stainless steel head rubber blade that goes to the original style arms, that then goes to a modern Delco 3-stage wiper motor with delay. So gone is the archaic vacuum control and all that crap. The glass on the truck is tinted, you'll notice, and it's kind of a medium gray brown tint, and that's done within the laminate of the tempered glass. It's not a film, which is kind of cool. The rearview mirrors, these peep mirrors from our buddies at United Pacific, they keep the aesthetic, again, very retro, but they have cool modern functionality because when you turn on the turn signals, there's little LED arrows that light up in the mirrors, which is, I don't know, it's the little things that I geek out on. More little things, taillights are done by our buddies at Greening Automotive for us. I redesigned something that they were already making, just mostly the tulip mount arm. So those are CNC'd, and they run a really nice light pattern and kind of a prismatic pyramid structure acrylic lens with the LED circuit board behind it. So they keep it old school but have kind of a modern tweak again. You'll notice the caps on the end of the rolled sides of the bed. We fill those cavities with little machined bungs and more LEDs, and those become the reverse lights. The tailgate on the truck is branded Icon. We do that by acid etching the steel, so it's very, very subtle. We keep it tone on tone, but basically the acid eats into the metal and we control how deep it goes to, in essence, create the aesthetic of a stamped icon. We also do that on the spun stainless steel nickel plated and brushed hubcaps, which are readily available in the aftermarket, and then we customize them with the plating, brushing, and acid etching icon into them. The wheels are designed specifically for this truck, and they're CNC'd out of 6061 aluminum, super lightweight, really strong, nice and durable. The tires are ZR rated and super sticky, tons of fun. We've changed this stance on each one of these trucks. I think this is actually my favorite so far, but that's part of the discussion with the client as far as what they want the ride height to be, and if they want the truck level or a little dumped in the nose with a bit of a rake. And then since it's coilover suspension, the client still has the flexibility to adjust the static stance a little bit, probably a factor of about 1.75 inches. It's up to them. Another fun thing that we change around on each and every one of the Thriftmasters we build is the bed wood. In the case of this truck, we're running Ipe, which is a Brazilian hardwood. It's super, super durable, and it's used for decks and marine applications and whatnot. Our buddies, the master wood craftsmen at Abel and Baker, do that for us. And then it's 360 finished in a marine, super durable urethane. 360 degrees, so no open ends. The ribs for the bed are all stainless, and again, those are nickel plated. And then you'll notice the fuel filler is flush on the bed, and again, that's nickel plated stainless. And the gas tank is there in the back because it really helps with the weight distribution. When you have a pickup with this much power, you need as much weight in the back as you can get. And putting the tank back there along with our overbuilt 9-inch Strange rear end really helps that weight balance and helps the truck hook up. You'll also notice in the rear of the truck there is a reverse camera, which is really nice to have. It's kind of hard to tell where the bed ends. That camera ties directly to the Pioneer head unit, and the audio system on this truck is kick-ass. we've got some serious, pretty much audiophile grade sound going down with just 3 speakers. So we have 2 front and we have the bass hidden behind me. And then this system was designed for us by our friends at Audison. So they took this into their development lab, into their sound room, and basically whatever sound dyno, whatever the sound version of dyno is, and mapped the system for the dynamics of the truck. And it kicks ass. It really pumps. The paint on this truck is a velvety brown that we derived starting from the current production BMW M6 sedan color. The carpet is the Hargarten square weave from Germany, and that's edge hemmed in the bison, basically the leftover trimmings from the hides we used for the seat. What you can't see is that the floors, the firewall, the rear of the cab, the roof, and the doors are all extensively lined in Dynamat. You also may notice that the cabin floor, as well as the underside of the fenders, the inner portions of the bed, and the underside of the rear fenders are all coated in a heat-cured polyurea, which again helps to control vibration, sound, and temperature. And it's a way better corrosion barrier than the conventional spray-on oil-based coatings that the volume companies use. Kind of struggled with cup holders because we've learned everyone kind of expects to have some cup holders, but if you put it here in the armrest, then you can't put your arm there. And to reach the cup, you're kind of doing some gacky maneuvers. So actually poached the articulating cup holders from the current production Mercedes G-Wagon, and we put those down here in the rocker kick panel area. And it's nice, you just reach down to gain access. They're out of the way, they don't hit your leg, and they work really nice. Let's talk about the chassis just a little bit more. Again, it's developed by our dear friends at Morrison Enterprises. It's built specifically for this generation of truck. We do a bunch of tweaks and changes, some subtle, some not, from the one that Art Morrison retails, but basically it's the same structure. So in the front we have independent suspension, and in the rear we have a 4-link setup using Johnny joints, not Heims. We have a tunable sway bar as well, and the frame rails are 180 wall 2x4 into 2x6, and then we take that chassis, we DA surface sand it, then we silica blast it, then it gets epoxy primer powder coated, and then we do the final black powder coat, which is a mil-spec 1 coating. Really, there's no paint anywhere on the truck other than the body parts. I try and avoid paint wherever I can. I can talk about the drivetrain a little bit. Fun. So we are running a General Motors Chevy Performance E-Rod, which is the 5.3 LM4. And then to have just a bit more fun, we added the Magnuson superchargers. So air to water intercooled, trackable power, loads of torque, super fun. And it makes lovely noises. I really like the way it sounds. Check it out. It's just something about the supercharger whine. Just floats my boat. For the tranny, we're running a 4L85E. And super robust. Don't have to worry about it popping under all that load. Running a 3/4 ton drive shaft, again, a little bit of extra robustness to cover our ass, given the way that I drive and likely my client is going to be driving the beast. Cool thing about that motor too is you get a 2-year 50,000 mile warranty from GM. It's fully emission certified. We're running CATs, running a evaporative canister, and that's it. No air injection or smog pump or EGR or any of that crap. So it's nice, and it's not stinky, it's efficient. Serviceability is super simple. We always give all of our clients a USB stick with the truck on their keychain that itemizes all the content and has care and feeding instructions and owner manual, etc. But the thing with this motor is it's using the most universal diagnostic OBD2 protocol. So pretty much any service shop is going to be familiar with the system and have the diagnostic tools to aid in servicing it. And really, that's internationally. It's a really sexy system. I like it a lot. You'll notice the running boards are painted body color. So we did some research and decided to run this 3M film, like, you know, vehicle wrap stuff that's a semi-gloss. You really can't see it unless you hunt for it, and it really helps protect those and add to their longevity. The badging on the exterior of the truck has all been redesigned as well. Being the font geek that I am, I designed the side Thriftmaster icon badges, taking a inspiration from the original font on 3100, which was the original side badge. In the front, we tried to play with the stock one, but decided to just start over again, did our own. It's pretty simple form, painted insets, CNC'd aluminum, brushed nickel plated, and then the lizard on there is pretty notable. That little bugger's only about 1 3/4 size, and he's CNC'd out of a solid chunk of billet. It's pretty incredible we're able to get that level of precision at that scale, and I'm really happy with that. Totally inefficient disaster to make, but it looks super cool, so it's worth the hassle, I think. I guess that's my whole story. I haven't sold that many of these trucks. I kind of went overboard on them, I think. It's kind of my way in designing them. So the reality is the cost is pretty extreme, but got about 1.5 years back order on them. So fortunately, there's been enough people interested, enough people that can see the value, thankfully. And wish I could afford one. I'd like to keep this one, in fact. They're so much fun. So that's pretty much it. I know it's kind of a long video, but I really appreciate you guys taking the time. I wanted to really kind of go through the steps of it in more detail. So, as always, thank you so much for following the brand. Please spread the word. I don't do any promotion for our social media or YouTube channel, but the more the merrier. So any car geek friends, please share it with them. Questions, 818-280-3333 is the phone number. The website is icon4x4.com. Instagram is icon4x4. Twitter is icondesign. Facebook is Jonathan Ward. And there you go. That's it. Enough shameless self-promotion. Get on with your day.